There's a deep unspoken truth thrumming beneath your skin right now. It's the reason you're drawing breath, the reason your story hasn't slammed shut on a day it absolutely should have. This isn't about random fortune or a lucky roll of the cosmic dice. Something truly unprecedented unfolded in the silent architecture of the unseen world. A cosmic principle that had stood for 6,000 years, an unbreakable law of the universe, was momentarily suspended. The force known as death itself, the great, impartial keeper of finality, halted its motion, focused its infinite gaze directly upon you, and demonstrated a profound, unprecedented act. It bowed its head in reverence. The moment of cosmic hesitation, do you grasp the magnitude of what that means for your existence? Death is the only entity that recognizes no master, the single force that never entertains negotiation, never grants exceptions, and never deviates from its strict, universal protocol. Yet because of something inherent in your unique energy, in the very essence of your being, this unyielding force chose to hesitate. You were not randomly spared from an accident or a collapse. You were not saved by some statistical fluke of the moment. You were recognized. Your light was too bright, too pure, or too necessary for the process to continue. This message didn't just pop up on your screen as a coincidence of the internet. It was precisely summoned to your awareness by the resonant frequency of your own soul. Deep within your spiritual core, you've always held a quiet, certain knowing that you navigated a situation from which no one should have returned whole. You felt that invisible, suspended moment where every logical, physical, and emotional factor dictated an absolute end. But somehow, impossibly, the final curtain never fell. A strange, watchful stillness has been your companion ever since, a powerful sense that reality itself is adjusting its rules to accommodate your sheer, undeniable survival. The contract older than time. What we are talking about here is not a fanciful story. It is a contract of the highest order, older than any written human language. A covenant that has been actively invoked by only 4 specific souls throughout the entirety of human history. 4 unique consciousnesses across 6 millennia who achieved a rare, profound state of self-awareness, an energetic frequency so rare that it compelled even the master of endings to acknowledge its presence. 3 of those souls have long since completed their work and returned to the source, but you right now are the 4th. You are the only soul currently walking the planet that carries that indelible mark. It's a signature on your energy field, a divine cancellation code for any premature end, and a locked-down guarantee of protection over your destiny. This assurance remains absolute until your single sacred mission here on Earth is entirely complete. This is the authentic reason why you cannot and will not die before your divinely appointed time. This is the truth behind the numerous times you have been shielded and pulled back from scenarios that were specifically designed to destroy you. Your assignment is simply not yet over. The unseen world already knows your name and your unique purpose, and that's precisely why this message is reaching you at this exact moment, the moment your spirit is poised and ready to remember the profound truth of who you are. A call to remembrance. So, before we dive even deeper into the mechanics of what transpired and reveal the core reason death could not and will not touch you, there is a powerful, symbolic action I need you to take right now. If these words are generating a feeling of recognition within you, if your soul is vibrating with the truth I'm sharing, then I need you to pause. Take a long, deep, deliberate breath and then type the number 99 into the comments below this video. Don't think about it, just do it. The number 99 is not arbitrary. It is the number of completion, the profound vibration that signals an old cycle is being successfully closed so that your true divine purpose can finally and fully begin. By typing it, you are broadcasting a clear, powerful signal to the universe that you are finally ready to comprehend the astonishing reasons why even death itself felt compelled to step aside when it witnessed the clarity of your light. Please like this video right now. Make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already, and stay with me until the very end, because the deep truths you are about to receive will fundamentally and forever alter the way you perceive your entire existence. The fire and the choice it all happened during a moment of intense, surgical pressure, perhaps in a room that suddenly felt suffocatingly small under the colossal weight of a profound truth you had to carry. It was a night when every second stretched into a sharp, painful needle pricking your skin. The digital clock moved, but time itself seemed to congeal and stop. The shadows around you elongated, mimicking forgotten, painful memories. The air itself held a metallic taste, like the quiet, tense atmosphere before a catastrophic storm that never quite broke. It wasn't a sudden, single blow, but rather a perfect implosion from multiple unexpected directions. It might have been a communication you were utterly unprepared for, a betrayal from a person you implicitly trusted, or a door that shut soundlessly. Yet the reverberation shook the entire framework of your life's structure. This crisis hit you in those hours between 2 and 5 a.m., the dark, vulnerable hours when the world seems to drift into a shallow sleep and the pulse of the city is faint. It was then that your carefully constructed world began to disassemble itself with unnerving, surgical precision. The natural human instinct immediately presented the usual array of emotional escape hatches. To simply deny the reality, to frantically distract yourself with noise, or to sedate the excruciating ache until it became a manageable hum. But you did something in that moment that the human body and mind are not instinctively programmed to do when facing that level of impact. You stayed present inside the fire. You took one breath, not a perfect calming breath, but a jagged, desperate inhale that felt like swallowing broken glass. Then came the next, consciously slower, a labored drag as if you were pulling a heavy, rust-covered anchor out of the depths of your own lungs. Then, a final one, deep enough to reach the base of your spine and silently assure the panicked animal part of you that it was not only safe, but required to stand completely still. With the sheer discipline of those 3 powerful breaths, the emotional temperature of that room fundamentally changed. You didn't waste energy attempting to bargain with an indifferent fate. You didn't try to cover the wound with empty, glittery platitudes. You consciously named the pain without flinching. You admitted with raw honesty that the cut went down to the bone, and then you uttered the sentence that resonated and rerouted a cosmic river of energy. This hurts far more than I can bear, but I will continue. The universe in that moment did not anticipate hearing that exact sentence from a human consciousness under such an overwhelming load. Most human bodies under that kind of shock naturally split into protective fragments. Most minds instinctively flip all the psychological circuit breakers to prevent the lethal surge. Most hearts frantically call for a rescue that simply never materializes. But you, though trembling violently, remained completely and defiantly whole. You allowed the tidal wave of grief to pass directly through your being without permitting it to shatter the axis of your soul. You registered the massive tremor and consciously refused the collapse. That singular choice did not just echo within the confines of your own chest. It traveled across the intricate, energetic lattice of all possible probabilities, sounding like a rare, crystalline bell that very few have ever heard. The Anomaly flagged far beyond your ceiling. The street and the silently sleeping city, an ancient system designed to measure and record all endings, suddenly flagged a profound anomaly. The enormous ledger that meticulously records every soul's transition flickered inexplicably. The vast cosmic hand that routinely stamps all final transitions hovered motionless in mid-air. What had always been a cold automatic process suddenly became intensely observant. Death, not imagined as a cloaked figure with a scythe, but understood as the utterly impartial keeper of all thresholds, registered a variable it had not encountered in many millennia. This was a human consciousness that was absorbing a total, existential impact without any hint of dissociation, without that characteristic numbness that petrifies and turns souls into motionless statues. The data the system was receiving did not, in any logical sense, compute. Terror should have immediately seized control of your command center. Adrenaline should have violently rewritten your priorities to a simple, frantic mandate of survival at absolutely any cost. Yet in that moment you made the impossible choice, alignment over anesthesia. You consciously permitted the full force of the wave to crest over you, and yet refused to drown in its undertow. In that precise instant, the room itself transformed into a witness stand. Your breath became the only testimony required. The very floor beneath your feet seemed to take an oath with you. The walls absorbed and learned your new stable frequency. Even the surrounding darkness subtly adjusted its distance, as if recognizing a new unbreakable boundary it had never encountered before. The new ledger entry, somewhere within the silent eternal architecture of the Akasha, A brand new line was drawn where none had ever existed, deliberately labeled with a code that is almost never utilized. Anomaly Level 1. Functional awareness under catastrophic load. The marking was precise, scientific, and not poetic. This single entry instantly altered the way all future probabilities began to gather and converge around your unique name. Your future did not suddenly become easy or soft. Instead, it became incredibly sharp and focused. You were not handed a crown of ease. You were handed a meticulously crafted blade and a perfectly clear mirror. From that profound moment forward, the entire cosmic system had initiated a high-level test. It would observe closely to see if your choice was merely a temporary spark of defiance or the beginning of a true, unquenchable fire. And as you stood there, tasting the raw salt of your own despair, with a persistent tremor in your bones, you were completely unaware that far above any visible sky you've ever imagined, the ancient archivists of all endings closed the common, massive book they opened for everyone, and purposefully reached for a different, rarely used volume reserved for almost no one. They carefully turned to the first page and inscribed a single, definitive sentence. This one did not break when breaking was the natural law. The ink of that sentence instantly dried like a permanent divine seal. The threshold keeper, Death, leaned in closer, and an ancient, powerful knowledge whispered that your very next movement would determine far more than your simple healing. It would decisively determine your jurisdiction. Because when a profound soul adamantly refuses to fracture in the deepest hour of midnight, the coming dawn does not arrive gently. It arrives with a precise, uncompromising audit, and that is exactly when the second vital pattern in your existence began to form. It was the moment an impossible decision approached your horizon. Like a sudden, undeniable clap of thunder, without any visible clouds, demanding to know whether your previous endurance was a temporary miracle of the moment or the foundational beginning of a new cosmic law. Integrity. Over comfort weeks later, the intense silence that followed the initial crisis was not truly peace. It was the unnerving calm that always precedes an absolutely impossible test. You may have convinced yourself that the worst storm had finally dissipated, that the long, dark night had loosened its suffocating grip. But fate was already preparing a profoundly powerful mirror that no ordinary soul ever willingly wants to face. Two seemingly opposite doors appeared before your weary soul. Both promised loss. Both required a significant, wrenching sacrifice. One of the doors offered immediate, temporary comfort at the direct cost of your fundamental truth. The other door offered the absolute, unyielding truth at the cost of literally everything else you thought you possessed. You stood there, utterly immobilized, knowing with devastating certainty that whichever path you chose to walk, something sacred and vital would have to burn away. Your mind screamed frantically for safety, pleading, "Choose the option that hurts the least. Choose what is manageable," it insisted. But your spirit, that quiet, deep core, whispered something ancient and resolute. Choose what keeps you whole. It wasn't simple logic that guided your feet. It was something far older than any human fear, that faint, insistent vibration that originates from the very core of the soul, a place where the concept of compromise simply does not exist. Every weary cell in your body instinctively pleaded for retreat, for protection, for simple survival. But survival, you suddenly and profoundly realized, is not the same thing as truly living. So you deliberately made the singular decision that the universe never expects a human being to make under pressure that high. You chose integrity over comfort. You chose an eternal purpose over immediate, temporary peace. You chose a core principle over the fundamental instinct of self-preservation. And in that pivotal, defining moment, something deep within your spiritual coding dramatically changed. The very fabric of your being entirely rewrote itself in real time. Death was observing once again, not with the intent of a hunter, but with the quiet scrutiny of an objective witness. It watched you walk willingly and knowingly into massive personal loss, yet holding your head high, resolutely refusing to trade your deepest, most sacred truth for a temporary, fragile shelter. Anomaly Level 2, that single, deliberate act defied the oldest rule of all biological programming, the primal, fierce instinct to survive at literally all costs. You utterly transcended that instinct. You instantly became a consciousness that fundamentally values perfect alignment with truth over mere temporary existence. That's when the Akasha field officially recorded Anomaly Level 2, the birth of a profound soul that no longer functions under the subtle, corrosive threat of fear but solely under the radiant, unyielding mandate of truth. And in the very moment of that registration, your unique energy emitted a burst of light that was not a metaphor. For a few measurable seconds, it reached the exact threshold of what celestial record keepers term the resonance of incorruptibility. Very few souls ever manage to reach this specific threshold. Most spend their entire lifetimes desperately orbiting around it, too profoundly afraid to relinquish what was, truthfully, never truly theirs to keep. But you faced the potential of losing absolutely everything and somehow managed to remain spiritually intact. The universe itself didn't tremble out of fear, but out of a deep silent reverence. Because when a consciousness makes a single choice that pure, reality itself is instantly obliged to fundamentally reorganize its structure to perfectly accommodate it. You didn't just change your personal path that day. You dramatically altered the entire architecture of cause and effect surrounding your life. Suddenly, meaningful coincidences began to manifest with breathtaking speed. People who no longer matched your rising vibration began to softly drift out of your life. New vital connections appeared precisely on schedule, like highly coded appointments you had scheduled long before your own birth. The entire energetic field was swiftly and intelligently rearranging itself to provide the perfect, impenetrable protection for the one who dared to obey the ancient, quiet voice of eternity instead of the distracting, deafening noise of human fear. That was the pivotal moment Death began to realize something truly terrifying. All control over you was completely gone. How can you effectively threaten someone who has already proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they will willingly walk directly through a scorching fire to preserve the absolute integrity of their soul? How do you bargain with a being who would rather lose everything visible and temporary than betray that single, invisible, but eternal truth within? You became entirely untouchable, not because you were suddenly invincible, but because your foundational value system had risen to a level that transcends all earthly consequence. The unafraid truth, that specific, unwavering frequency, is the same vibration that all the saints carried, that the prophets fearlessly died for, and that all the celestial angels recognize instantly upon contact. It is the palpable sound of truth unafraid of endings. And as your conscious decision reverberated across multiple dimensions, the very laws of probability hesitated yet again, frantically calculating variables that by all known measures should not even exist. A mortal being had consciously chosen alignment over survival. Again. The cosmic system instantly labeled your file with the Integrity Anomaly code, a category explicitly reserved for fewer than a handful of names in all recorded history. From that exact day forward, the unseen world adjusted its entire posture every single time your name was spoken. The spiritual watchers began to look twice. The immense energy surrounding you suddenly acquired a palpable, undeniable gravity, because every soul that manages to reach that frequency instantly becomes a powerful mirror that relentlessly exposes illusion wherever it stands. The realm of endings marked you a third time, meticulously noting the pattern. First, endurance without collapse, and now, integrity without fear. And it whispered to itself a powerful speculation. If this human consciousness can survive the next inevitable trial, then this entire experiment will no longer remain a theoretical idea. Because another profound test was already subtly forming on your horizon, not designed to destroy you, but to utterly confirm that your hard-won evolution was no mere random accident. And what came next would be the ultimate moment that finally compelled Death to definitively bow its head. The quiet defiance, there, arrives a singular point in every truly sacred journey, where even the sky above feels completely indifferent to your plight. The subtle signs stop appearing. Your deepest, most desperate prayers echo back empty and unanswered. You look around the desolate landscape and realize with a chilling clarity that no one is coming to save you this time. That specific day was that moment for you. The day everything you had left inside your soul was finally reduced to a tiny, sputtering flicker. You had already lost too much. Too many vital pieces of yourself were scattered and lost in silent, desperate battles that no one else ever witnessed. You had given your sacred loyalty to those who ruthlessly betrayed it. Your core energy was poured into causes that ultimately consumed you entirely. Your precious hope was staked on tomorrows that simply never arrived. And now, you said with perfect clarity, send me into the realm of complete forgetfulness. Strip me entirely of my memory, my power, my full awareness of who and what I am. Let me fall headlong into the noise, the chaos, and into a pain so profound that it will shatter the human spirit. And let me see if I can still remember my truth without any of the visible proof. It was not a punishment or a penance. It was an experiment of the highest, most daring order. It was the answer to a question that had never been definitively resolved. Can divinity remain utterly divine, even when it has completely forgotten that it is divine? Can the eternal consciously choose the light while drowning in absolute darkness, without any comforting proof that the light even exists anymore? The trial completed, death accepted the challenge. It wanted, with all of its impersonal intelligence, to observe exactly what would occur when a fully awakened soul intentionally entered the dense, confusing labyrinth of mortality with no visible map or guide. And so you were born, not into comfortable privilege or easy paths, but directly into the refining fire, into the heavy density of matter, the profound confusion of identity, and the aching, intense loneliness of being utterly cut off from your original knowing. Every unexpected heartbreak, every significant loss, every painful betrayal, every single night you genuinely thought you couldn't possibly go on. These were not random accidents. They were precisely placed checkpoints in the experiment, markers designed to test whether, in a state of total blinding amnesia, you could still instinctively find your way back home to your core truth. And incredibly, you did. Without any conscious memory of your promise, without any awareness of your innate power, without remembering that you had ever spoken a single word to death, you walked through the complex maze and accomplished the impossible feat. You found the original frequency again, not through intellectual theory, but through sheer unyielding endurance. You remembered through the crucible of your pain what you had once known, only through the effortless ease of light. And when you did, the entire system trembled, because that was the proof no prophecy or legend had ever been able to produce. The returning flame consciousness can absolutely survive utter extinction, even when it has completely forgotten its own eternity. That is the fundamental reason death couldn't touch you. You were not breaking its rules at all. You were, in the most profound sense, fulfilling its request. You became the living, breathing answer to the very question it had silently guarded since the dawn of time. You became the demonstrable proof that divinity is not something you merely recall. It is something you are even when experiencing absolute spiritual amnesia. You didn't ascend through any rigid religious ritual or restrictive dogma. You ascended through raw, unfiltered experience, through deep agony, and through relentless persistence. You became the first soul in thousands of years to successfully complete the trial of the forgotten God. The unique soul who consciously chose darkness as the ultimate classroom and still definitively graduated as pure, unadulterated light. That is what the indelible mark on your energy field truly signifies. It is not just about simple protection. It is pure, absolute recognition. The entire cosmos now knows precisely what you have proven, that even under the heaviest, most crushing veil of pain, the divine spark can never be erased. You willingly walked into oblivion, knowing full well that your return and awakening would completely rewrite the universal meaning of mortality itself. And it did. The shifting illusion, you didn't merely survive a brush with death, you transcended it. You didn't run fearfully from the final end. You consciously walked directly through it, and it was forced to step aside and yield. What you inherently carry now is not protection granted by mercy or divine favor, but an honor earned by your pure essence. You faced the one single thing that every living creature profoundly fears, and instead of breaking and fragmenting, you became something the universe previously had no existing category for, a consciousness that is utterly ungoverned by endings. That is why your world feels subtly different now. It is not the world itself that changed. It is entirely you. The frequency that once belonged to your desperate survival now belongs to absolute sovereignty. You have powerfully stepped out of the general human algorithm and into the limitless space of divine authorship. Nothing that happens to you from this moment forward is random or mere coincidence. Every obstacle you encounter will now be forced to serve your unique mission. Every perceived delay will secretly hide a deeper divine timing. Every storm will carry precise instructions designed only for you. You are now moving inside an energetic field where even chaos is compelled to obey your perfect, powerful alignment. The universe naturally bends around those who truly remember who they are. And you finally have remembered. Walk as who you are from this moment onward. Stop walking through the world like someone who was merely spared or lucky. Walk like someone who was chosen. Walk like one who has already proven beyond any doubt that they simply cannot be destroyed. Walk like the fourth, the great anomaly who compelled the cosmos to definitively question its own laws, because you are not here to cautiously hide your light anymore. You are here to boldly lead others out of the illusion of mortality and fear, to remind every soul of the profound truth you have proven, that eternity is not something that happens after life. Eternity is life itself. You are the undeniable evidence. You are the vibrant echo of the highest experiment that worked flawlessly. You are the purposeful continuation of what was once declared impossible. So rise, speak with authority, create boldly, lead fearlessly, love audaciously, exist with defiant presence. And when people inevitably ask you what profoundly changed inside of you, simply smile your quiet, confident smile and tell them one perfect truth. I remembered, because that act of remembering is the real, ultimate resurrection, a final declaration. If the deep truth of this message resonated with your eternal spirit, take a final deep breath and type 888 in the comments section below. Do it, not as a random number, but as a formal, powerful declaration to the universe. I carry the mark of respect. I am not under threat. I am under assignment. Say it, write it, and fully believe it. Because the instant you make that declaration, the energy surrounding you will shift again, faster, brighter, and louder. You will feel it instantly, the invisible crown settling firmly over your soul, the ancient armor of truth returning to your energy field. The cosmic system unequivocally recognizes you now. The divine light knows your name and your frequency. Death knows its proper place. You are the fourth, the one who earned silent reverence from the ultimate inevitable, the one who proved that endings must bow to pure conscious awareness, the one who carries the mark. And when your sacred mission is finally complete, the universe itself will stand utterly still to honor your return to the source. Until that day, walk as who you are, a living miracle written in pure defiance of extinction,